All right, we're on another episode of Grow the Game, and we have a pretty awesome guest here today. So I'll let you introduce yourself, and we'll get after it.
I'm Anna Howle. I'm the head coach at Oklahoma Baptist University. We're an NCAA Division II volleyball team, and we just got the rankings, and we're currently ranked number 11 in the country.
Yeah, that's awesome. You've had quite the last 2 weeks, and it's been just great win after great win, and hats off to you guys. But so how would you describe yourself as a coach?
I would definitely say that I'm very passionate. And I think it takes a little bit for some of our girls to understand that I really want what's best for them, and I'm very urgent about that. And I think that I love heart. I love girls that want to come in and work, want to come in and get better, and get tougher along the way. And I love defensive-minded individuals. I love people that love to play for the team. And that's kind of really what I would push for, I guess, as a coach. We do a lot of technical training. So, we had the gym open from 1 till 3 when we started practice today. And girls just pop in for 20 minutes to just work on something and grow their game just a little bit each day. And that's what I'm looking for, is improvement every single day, and that passion to just grow as a person, grow as a player. And I really push for that, and I have high expectations, and I want the girls and try to help the girls meet those expectations every day.
Yeah. Do you think some of those things that you're looking for in your kids, but also just how you are as a coach, do you think that's something that's been attributed to a lot of the success you guys are really starting to come into?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, you have to have the girls, and I tell everybody this, like, you have to have the right girls that are going to come and want that for themselves. So I have to make sure that I recruit girls that are either open to that, or I can convince them that that's what they want. And I think that that is a big reason why we're successful, is because they're convinced that that's what they want. And I mean, who wouldn't want that? It's just not easy to get it. So,
Sure.
I think that's the biggest thing, is these girls believe and know that they want to work hard and achieve success and earn it. And that's a big part of why we were successful this past weekend against some of the top teams in the country, because they want to earn that. And earning it is a big difference than just receiving it.
Yeah, it's kind of, I don't know if I'd say funny or weird, but one of the words I've been using in the last year and a half is earned, is earn that point, earn a good pass. And, just don't want it to cupcake over and you get an easy ball. Like, go earn it, go take it. It just makes everything more worth it in the end.
Right. And for some of our girls, like, some of them it takes, like, we have one of our outsides that's starting this year, hasn't played a whole lot for us. She's a junior now. She hasn't played a whole lot for us her freshman and sophomore year. And she has worked and earned where she is right now, understanding that the process of growth is important. And it's not always easy, because you're used to being, all these girls that we get are stars on their team. They're studs. And it's really hard to come in and not just be the stud, and much less having to fight for a position at all. And sometimes even a position in practice, and you have to earn those. But that's what makes it so worth it, right? I mean, like, earning it makes it worth it, and it makes you want to hold on to it.
Yes. So you had mentioned that, where you coach at OBU is a D2 program. What's so great about the D2 program and that level?
That's a good question. So, a lot of our girls have the opportunity to go to Division I, mid-major Division I schools, but a place like OBU, they choose to be here. So they come here knowing that they're going to be the big fish on campus. We're big fish, small pond. Volleyball is very important to our school. They are very important aspects of the campus life. And I think, Division II is awesome. I played at top Division I level when I was playing at Oklahoma, and I absolutely loved what I was doing there. But this is a different type of mindset as far as how good you can get, how much you get to train, how much you're loved on by the entire campus. So we're not too big that, you're not important in other aspects, such as your classes and all of those different things. You know, they're really involved in the community. We do a program called Bison Buddies, and, you know, they have, and we can't be with the elementary students in Shawnee right now, but they have pen pals. You know, they're inserted into our community, and Division II is amazing for that, because the level of volleyball is no different than mid-major Division I volleyball. It is high, super high level. The difference is these kids choose to be here. So they're not just taking the first Division I offer that they get because it's Division I. They're choosing us over those Division I offers, and that's why the volleyball is so good.
Yeah. So something maybe for some coaches out there that are, you know, wanting to do a good job in the off season. And I know this year's been real weird for college, but maybe a typical off season. What does that look like for you guys? Is there anything that you really try to focus on in that time frame?
Definitely. Individual training for us has been the game changer. So if I could encourage anybody, I would say get your hitters in and box hit, and be intentional about when they're box hitting. So like our All-American when we had our off season, our really good All-American outside, she spent a month adding 2 shots to her game. She wanted to add the wrap shot, and she wanted to add the sharp cross. All shots, all box work, and she box hit 3 to 4 times a week, working on those specific things. And, you know, with our middles, we really needed to develop our middle attack. And it's not hard on their legs to do box hitting, but I would say individual work. We work with our passers one-on-one. We try to be, and that's hard because it's a lot of time. Like some days I'm in the gym for 7 hours, which for me is great because I love the gym. I could live there. And my girls, I think they're always kind of confused, like, how can you love practice so much? But I do. I just love watching them get that one little thing that elevates their game. And for them, that individual attention, that relationship we develop as they're growing is so important for them. And if I was going to tell anybody anything, like, individual work is a changer. It's a game changer. It's a program changer. And then, you know, in team practice, they understand what they're working on. And we keep them very focused on the fact that you work on what you're growing on individually when you get in there. But we're real believers that if you're training technique, the technique has to be there before you go 6-on-6, because you can't just change in 6-on-6 all of a sudden. You have to have enough reps doing the right thing so that you're changed before you get into competition.
Yeah, I think that's been one of my biggest changes as a coach of the last couple years is when we have our July 15th, we start in-season practice. If I start now having, instead of 2 hours of complete team practice, it'll kind of be, you know, I'll have some hitters over here doing this and blockers are doing, and so we really kind of break down and add little things like you're talking about. And I've seen the girls love it, but also it just makes them better. You know,
Definitely.
so that's awesome.
The other thing that I would definitely encourage for coaches to do, and I actually learned this from our new head basketball coach here at OBU, and he calls them vitamins. And you've got to take your vitamins every day. So we've determined 3 vitamins that we have to do every day. Number 1, and this is in no specific order, they're just our 3 number 1s, I would say, is we have blocking, we have serving, and we have soft game defense. So we work on those 3 vitamins. We spend at least 10 minutes a day, whether it's through a warm-up game where the intention is serving or the intention is soft game defense, or even if it's just specific to footwork blocking. We do something with vitamins every day. And it took a while. I'm like, oh, we've been working on this. It's not working. But it really has come through here in the last couple of weeks after we did 4 weeks of vitamins. The last 2 weeks, we've been really good at the things that we've done vitamin-wise. And not letting that go is important.
Yeah, I think having a couple of things like you just said that you work on every day because you just believe that's part of success in the game, you know.
Yeah.
So we're already kind of on the in-game, you know, you're kind of talking about drills and whatnot. Is there anything specific that you call a timeout on? You know, I've heard some coaches have rules to it. So, you know, back-to-back aces, it's an automatic timeout. they get ahead by 5, automatic timeout, or do you just kind of feel it out? What's
I'm a
your
feeler. Yeah, I get a lot of criticism because of my feeling. I like the idea, like, oh, back-to-back aces. I probably should have rules. I'm sure everybody that's coached with me in the past would be like, Anna needs some rules for calling timeouts. But no, I feel like I have a really good sense. I was talking about this with one of my players. When we're picking on who to serve or when we're struggling on our side, I feel like I have a good sense when people are teetering. Right. So I feel like when my team is teetering on confidence or my team is teetering on like just a little bit of a guess about what they're doing or they just kind of lose it, that's where I feel like I need timeouts. So I'm a big feeler. That's not how everybody is, but I'm definitely a big feeler.
No, I think that's one of the most polarized things I've ever talked about is some people are just, I mean, there are rules to everything on their timeouts, and some people just feel it out. I've started to kind of hybrid it. I like the idea, like you said, I like the idea of some of those things, but at the same time, I don't know, they're not all created equal.
No, they're not.
But anyways, so on your timeouts, is there anything specific you do in your timeouts? For instance, Frank over at ORU, I got this and I thought it was awesome. I watched his game, but once he calls a timeout, all the middles get together, all the pins get together, setters, and they just kind of are in a small group, kind of talking about what they're seeing. Maybe not just players, but also coaches. Do you, immediately talk to your assistants about serve receive or who's hitting well, or kind of what do you do with your timeout?
Good question. I think that I usually pull aside a couple, 1, 2, 3 players and try to have a little bit of an individual conversation. Like usually right now it's our right side blockers, our setter and the other right side blocker. They are both exceptional blockers, but both can get rattled if there's change or something, like they get tooled or whatever. And we just talk a little bit through like, this is what you need to do. Let's set it up this way, whatever. Same thing with hitters. I mean, I do talk to my setter a lot, just giving her feedback about, hey, we've been setting a lot of right side. Let's shift it and go with middle for a little bit, and then we'll open the right back up, So a lot of conversation happens with my setter. And I think we have 2 or 3 girls that lead like kind of the excitement level in the timeout. So again, being a feeler as far as calling timeouts, usually what we're trying to do is change the momentum. So in the change of momentum, a lot of it is more not as direct as far as like a lot of instruction. I try to keep instruction very, very simple. But everybody on our team knows that as soon as a timeout is called, I'm going to have an individual conversation. Those people that are positional or that are watching out for their friends or whatever, they go and tell them how they can score. That is a very big deal for us, or how the other team may score on the defense and what to look for. So they have a lot of those intentional conversations. And then that's about the first 20 seconds of the timeout. And then we go into pump up section of the timeout, right? So let's stop so-and-so, and we really have a directed focus on the other team of where we think we can exploit their weaknesses or where they are hurting us, and how we can stop where they're hurting us based on what we do. So we're very intentional about going after the other team in our timeouts because usually when I call a timeout, it has to do with the fact that we're erring too much or we're not passing very well. So if that's the case, I try not to call mad timeouts very often if I can help it.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
So I assume, and I start with that, that you all watch film either as a coaching staff or you send it out or some form, yeah?
Yeah. So my assistant is in charge of the first scouting report I receive. So she makes the first scouting report, and I like it like 2 days in advance if we can. The day before, either 1 to 2 days before, we have our girls get on and they have to give their own scouting report. So they have a buddy, they just choose it. It can be a group of 3, 4, 2, whatever. And they give a scouting report, and they've just adapted. So some do shot charts. Some just do observations, some do setter, some do defense. They just kind of have divvied it up so that they each put a scouting report so I can see what they're seeing, and then I add to their scouting reports in the game prep.
So what is something that maybe a coach that, has huddle or, has the ability to look at film, what's maybe a baby step you would encourage them to do? Because, especially at a high school level, it's really hard to have the girls do scouting reports themselves.
Right.
Some time frames it's really tough. So what would be like a baby step you think, watching film, here's how you use it?
For sure. I mean, I have a really not great attention span for film. So I would really definitely say don't only watch the first set, because people make a lot of changes. Like if there's a more tense game, watch that game other than just the first set. The first set is really good and what I would say as a baby step is write down how they start. So who usually a lot of people start their best player in left front, or maybe their best blocker, or however it kind of goes. There's an intention, or there should be an intention for how they have their starting lineup. So the very first thing that I need to see and do is how they're starting, so that I know how we're going to match up. So am I putting my All-American against their worst blocker or against their best blocker? Am I putting my best middle against their best people? Those are all things that I consider when I write down the starting lineup. So I would definitely do that. And then I would also make sure that I understand the first thing I'm going to look at is how can we score? So the first thing I look at is how fast their middles move to pin. So if their middles are not closing the block, that is my team's first and my first. Like we mix the offense between pin to pin, and we're going to have holes. Let's just go ahead and hit and bounce balls. I look for how to score on, or how to make a mess. We always do. We have like our outside, and we started this a long time ago. I had an All-American outside, and we just told her to make a mess, right? So you have to decide how to make a mess. Most of the time that's putting the ball to the setter. Sometimes it's putting the ball to the middle of the court. I know there's one team we play that always goes deep corner against us. So you look at how you can get the other team so that they give you an easy ball. That's a big one for us. How do we get easy balls if we're not in system?
Mm-hmm. I like that. I think not too many people focus on, okay, it's not perfect. What are we doing in the not perfect situation?
Right.
Of course we want to hit, we want to run a one and shoot and all that stuff, but it's not a good set. What are you doing with it? Are you
Right.
just flipping it over, or are you actually trying to make that free ball, that tip, that roll, whatever it is, difficult?
Exactly. Well, and I think that's the biggest thing why we have when somebody on our team makes a mess, we say, Malia makes a mess, Taryn makes a mess. They get excitement from making the mess from our bench and from me as a coach, because it means that they're making a good decision. Because really, who's winning the volleyball game? The team that makes the least amount of errors typically, right? So we're always looking for how to get ourselves in situations where we can go ball floor, because ball floor is really important to us. But if we can't go ball floor, how can we give ourselves an opportunity to go ball floor or let them err?
Right. You're always trying. What I tell them is that you're always trying to win an exchange. Okay. If I can give a tip, a free ball, and get that in return, that's a win. I've won because now I should be able to better that situation.
Right.
So it's all about those trade-offs of, okay, pass set, great swing, even better dig. That's just a good exchange.
Right.
And so.
Yeah, and we do a hitter rating. So most people do passer rating, which we do also, but we do a hitter rating. So if my outside gets a kill, she gets 4 points, and errors 0 points. If she hits it over and they pass a 1, we get a free ball back or an easy ball back. She gets 3 points for that. So we give them a hitter rating. So they're always competing for who has the highest hitter rating, because it's the make a mess award, right? So that's a big deal for us, that they've learned a lot off of hitter rating. Because there's some people out there that are really stat minded. I'm not, but some of our girls are. So we have to produce that for them.
Yeah, I think it's all how you use it. If you use it for motivation and those kids love it, like you said, competing for that number, then it's used well a lot.
Yeah, for sure.
So, you have a handful of kids on your team that are from Oklahoma. You've got quite a few that's from outside, and that's pretty typical. But What are you seeing from the high school level here in Oklahoma comparatively to the, let's just say, surrounding states?
Yeah, it's really tough in Oklahoma because of the fact that softball is a fall sport, right? So, ever since I got here, that was just shocking. So it makes Oklahoma the 46th recruitable state. But I think the game of volleyball is growing so much in Oklahoma, and I love it. I wish they would switch softball to the spring because, that's when college plays it. So, because I think that would give us a lot more recruitable athletes because Oklahoma is full of really strong athletes. The difference is, and why we don't get to recruit a lot of times as many Oklahoma girls, is because those athletes haven't been trained as much as like the Dallas kids that we get. So, for us, it's okay because we love a great athlete that we can train. That for us at OBU is kind of our mantra, right? So we have like these great athletes that aren't spectacular at volleyball yet, but they want to work. So that's what I love about Oklahoma, is because there's a lot of those here. The problem is there's just not enough of the rest of it because a lot of the great athletes are playing softball. And, I'm glad they're playing something. I just wish we could recruit from both sides, But yeah, we recruit a lot of the Dallas area. We have some Phoenix, we have a Peruvian. We're from all over the place. And we want kids that want our school, that they want this place and they want to grow and learn. And but I think Oklahoma volleyball, I've been at OBU now 13 years and I played at OU for 4. So I've been here since, 2003. And I've really watched Oklahoma volleyball grow and improve. I think that the clubs and the high school coaches are really trying to grow their game, grow their coaching. It's awesome. I love it. And I think that it's definitely improving on a daily basis in Oklahoma, and I love it for our state.
Yeah. How much do you think having OU, and if OSU were to get it, having those programs that little kids look up to and want to watch and go to their games, how much do you think that affects the level of competition in Oklahoma?
Definitely. I think that's a huge part of it. I think Tulsa's had some really, really good years. A lot of our D2 and NAI schools, like, OCU is fantastic at volleyball. We have in our conference, just SWASU, Southern Nazarene, East Central's having a great year, Northwestern, Southeastern. We have some really, UCO's good. We have a lot of strong Division II programs. And so that helps that we are growing our college game. I want more kids to play volleyball. And I think with some of the other sports, they start younger, and volleyball, you can't start as young. But I don't think that's a problem because a lot of kids burn out when they start too young, and then they switch over to volleyball, and we can get some of those great athletes and train them when they're old enough, big enough to train.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's probably the most common answer is that you have softball. That's always like this little thing we say, but starting younger, having these little leagues type thing that kids can just get exposed to it, because if they're playing 5 years of cheer, by the time they hit middle school, they've already told themselves, I'm a cheerleader. And so I see a lot of times they don't want to give new things a chance too much. They feel like they're already in a groove, and that, they kind of feel like I've got to stick to it. I'm already invested.
Right.
But that's an interesting kind of caveat to it, is that if we're starting younger, then that means they're playing more. Is that always good? Hard to tell.
We see a lot of kids switch over. And the nice thing about volleyball is that it all starts really about the same time, 5th or 6th grade, so they don't feel behind to move into volleyball a lot of times. And they don't burn out because by that point they've already played another sport and now they get to choose volleyball and they love it. So it's not a bad thing, but I do love the idea of exposure for the young kids, which we do a lot of it in Shawnee. So we do a lot of open clinics, minis. We play, with lights, we play with balloons, we play with all kinds of stuff just so that they get this little taste of volleyball is going to be my sport. And we have tons of kids say that, volleyball is going to be my sport when I get older and I can really play. And that's what we want to do for them. And I think that's what we need to do more of for them, is not get them in club earlier. Just give them tastes so they love it,
Yeah, I like that. I mean, that's for my middle school coaches. That's one thing I always tell them. I want every kid that's in the program wanting to come back the next year. That's
Definitely.
one of your one jobs is
Yep.
you got to make those kids want to come back and continue to grow. You know, if they hate it, we've lost them.
Right.
And but so lastly, grow the game. We're going to be hosting a coaches clinic here in Oklahoma, in Tulsa in July. It's going to be very locally run as far as, we got Josh Collins from SWASU and Frank and a couple of high school coaches. How beneficial do you think that is for the middle school and high school level coaches around here comparative to, going to some really big one like AVCA or a gold medal square, those really kind of top notch big ones?
Yeah, I think it's really important to go to something locally. First of all, it's cheaper, and I mean, during these times, I think it's really important to do that. But I think secondly, having those conversations with different coaches in the area, and sometimes like at AVCA, they do some fantastic training sessions, but you have to be able to know which ones and go to the right ones so that you can understand, right? So you have to be able to, and sometimes like I go to ones at AVCA that they're talking a little bit different than I can understand how they would do it. And I think those local ones are really important for the question time, the time where you can have interaction and they can show you what they're actually talking about so you can understand, because I think that's the biggest part, right? That we understand what we're teaching and that we're sticking to a good technical base, a good learning team aspects that apply to our team, because every team is different. Every coach has to coach different players differently. So I think that's a really, really big aspect. I would definitely encourage AVCA convention. It is fantastic. I learned so much when I'm there. But I think you've got to have both aspects. I mean, we run a team camp here at OBU, and we do 2 times per day. We do chalk talk for coaches. So coaches can come in and ask their questions. And I think that's the biggest part about growing the game is having a mentor, having somebody that you can ask questions to and not feel stupid about asking questions, but to really understand and know what you need to know for your own program. And that's a big aspect, for us as far as doing our team camp is wanting to grow the game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the two of the bigger things that we're trying to push with that is that the accessibility, the fact that it's cheap, it's local, you don't have to go to Phoenix or Nashville or something,
right?
Because just not everyone can afford that, especially smaller volleyball schools. They can't afford to fly you out, your whole staff and stay a couple nights, and so now you've put growth outside of their reach by doing that. But I have done a whole video over how I like, Gold Medal Squared and some of the things they do. AOC, CAP. There's some really good programs that
for sure,
can fit and really help you more than probably a local coaches clinic could. But like you said, it's a good mix because accessibility, but also community. Like you said, being able to talk, feeling comfortable, knowing we're going through the same stuff. Like we're literally 20 miles away from you. We understand, the aspects that's going on here in Oklahoma. So, having those two things, I think, is what we're kind of proud about with this. So we're excited about it and hope that, like you said, we can just help kids. Now, we're helping coaches with this, but hopefully that trickles down to them.
Oh, for sure. Definitely.
And just getting the sport that is growing so fast everywhere, just to another level. I think we all agree that it's growing. We just want to expedite it and give it a chance to really turn into something big.
Yeah, for sure.
So
that's awesome. I love that.
I appreciate you being on here. Good luck with the rest of your season. You're already having a fantastic season, but just keep representing Oklahoma as awesome as you guys are doing.
Thank you.
Tell Dev I said hi.
I will tell her.
But again, I appreciate you being on here and thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome. Have a great day.
You too.